Well, it's a iconic property. When PlayStation first came out, it was so exciting because it took gaming to another level. And Twisted Metal was one of those games that actually propelled gaming to another level when it came out. So, I mean, it won Video Game of the Year. So when I heard about it and read the original draft of the pilot script, I just loved the character. I feel like John Doe is such a nutball, like a bull in a china shop. So I was excited to be a part of it. I played the game when I was a kid, right? I was more of a not so much an interactive person gamer. I was more of like a cartoon gamer person, like Frogger and things like that. But this was one of those games that when I finally got a PlayStation, I was able to play. We had the Atari, then I got a Nintendo from my cousin, and there was something a lot of people don't remember called ColecoVision. And one of my friends got ColecoVision, and I worked all summer and saved up and bought a PlayStation. And everybody would come to my house because PlayStation was, the biggest gig in town. Definitely, as a producer, I mean, your biggest goal is to make sure that the characters are three-dimensional and the world is flushed out as much as it can be. I feel like we had a great writing team, and they really took those notes to heart and gave me everything I needed to make John Doe a very empathetic character. Somebody as extreme as the situation is, somebody who you can really relate to. The experience of seeing things and experiencing things for the first time. So that was something that we played with and really focused on as far as, taking just the simple game and building it out to be a complete world. It's different, it's fun. It's one of those things where it's not slapstick comedy, but it's just as more situational comedy, and I feel like John Doe lends to that very well. He's such a nebulous character. He's like a child almost, because there's so many things that he's never experienced before. So seeing the world through his eyes is really like seeing the world through a 5-year-old's eyes. And the way he looks at things, and his perspective on the world, being that we're after the apocalypse, and how green and adventurous he is. So it's a really fun character to play, and it gives you the ability to kind of portray someone in a different light, and put him out there for people to enjoy and see how ridiculous he is. It's funny, working with Stephanie was really a unique experience just because she's very script intelligent. She knows how to read a script, break down scenes, and give herself options and opinions on a character that informs those moments. So it's not that it keeps you on your toes, but it really helps you to support that person that you're working with when you're doing the same thing. Because a lot of times actors don't do that work. So you're coming in with this booklet of information and they're just standing there saying their lines. So it looks like you're in a whole different movie. But working with her was a lot of fun because she really kept the energy light. No day was a work day. Like the biggest thing we have in common, we really love what we do. And every day we would just felt lucky working on the show. We knew from the first time we read together, we knew over Zoom, we knew how fortunate we were for this opportunity. Just simply, doing what we do, you really get to, and you get to be a kid every day. That's our goal as actors, is to get back to that point before someone told us what wasn't real. If you look at kids, they run around the backyard with a stick, and if they're swords and they're fighting dragons. But as adults, we've had that stripped away. And, Stephanie's one of those people who I would definitely want to run around the backyard with and fight dragons. And she has a long background in pedigree in comedy. I mean, she's just a naturally funny girl. So it's one of those things where I was kind of playing catch up, which I enjoy. And, there was never on the Zoom, on the read, the secret of comedy is never saying no. If someone says it's snowing outside, you go to the window and say, what are we gonna do about this snow? And she's one of those people who gets that and kind of dove into that head first. So we were able to come up with some really interesting, fun stuff. Well, it's crazy because Samoa Joe, he killed it. To say he's not an actor, his comedy work, his physical work, the stuff he was doing, there's no reason why he should be able to do that at the level at which he did it. I mean, there were parts on set where all of us were just watching him in awe. I mean, it was really fun to see and inspiring, really, because it goes back to that thing of being lucky about what we do. You see someone who really gets to do it for the first time, and them just jumping in and you know, living that character, and yeah, it was just fun to see, man. He's so big, like they would always baby oil him up and lube him up, and he would he was just an awful, huge human being. It was really bad, but the kindest guy, you know, you would ever meet. He, yeah, I can't say enough about him. I had a great experience working with him, and the stuff that he did was beautiful, you know. And Thomas is just Thomas. Like when we got Thomas Hayden Church, I was like, yo, we have a real show, you know, and we have a lot in common, you know, as far as cars and, you know, just being outdoors and stuff like that. So just, you know, having that opportunity to, you know, him being from Texas and hanging out with him on set, we were really able to build our rapport and plug that in with the rapport of the characters. So we just, I mean, from top to bottom, literally from the little roles all the way up, everybody did a phenomenal job on the show. It did, and fortunately, every writer whose episode we were shooting, they came to set for a few days and we got to meet them. And, you know, we had a great team. We had a really unique, interesting, diverse perspective team. Everybody came from different backgrounds and saw the world a different way. So, you know, when creating that world, you had a little bit of everything in there, which for me was very important. And, you know, going along with the directors, you know, Kitao, when he came in, Kitao, I feel like, was the lucky find of this show. Just because his voice and his presence and his ability. Like our first day shooting, Kitao got COVID. And then it was like everything he was directing us from a car in the parking lot. Like it was crazy. I mean, everything about this show was crazy. But we pulled it off and we had a good time. And, you know, we've made lifelong friends with shooting this show. Well, we're in 2002 America. The apocalypse has happened and everything has gone to shit. Basically, you have these major cities like Chicago and San Francisco and New York, and you know they've walled off the city, so everybody outside of the city is basically just renegades, you know, raping and pillaging for what they can find. Whereas in the city, you live in this controlled utopian society, you know. So we find ourselves in the middle of a mission from New Chicago to New San Francisco with John Doe, and him having to deliver a package much against his will, but at the same time with an amazing opportunity that comes along with it. So that's kind of at the beginning where we are. Well, all of the cars have their own kind of, you know, special skill, their own look. It's funny when you see that ice cream truck and that big bobbing head on top of it, because there's one shot we have where it's in the distance and you don't see the truck, you just see the head coming around the corner, you know. And with Evelyn and I have almost a human relationship. You know, there's certain things that happen in the show where she literally has my back, you know, and she takes me in when I'm a kid, and she's been with me ever since. So that relationship, that bond we've built is really, you know, a love relationship. She's the only family that I have. So I talk to her, I spend time with her, I make sure she's taken care of. You know, so we really go beyond the idea of the relationship of car and owner, where it's more like lover and love interest. Well, quiet destroys everything. When she comes into the fold, it's funny because she's the only person who Evelyn accepts. You know, it takes her a while, but she has to develop that relationship with Evelyn as well. So it's funny, you know, the character without any lines is still a huge presence, overall presence in the show. But yeah, Quiet almost messes that up. And a lot of my time is spent either chasing Quiet or getting her out of the shit that she's in. So it becomes a back and forth between the two of them with Evelyn in the middle. You know, as a producer, I really want the audiences to have fun. I really want the audience to look at this show and accept it for what it is and just enjoy the ride. You know, this is such a high velocity, potent, ridiculous show with such high extremes that, you know, the message of it, the love and compassion that John Doe gets to, the understanding and forgiveness that he and Quiet gets to. I want the audience to see that and, you know, go along on that ride and accept that for themselves as well. That's the great thing about the show, and that's what's so fun. You really, there's no way of generating the idea. And if you're over, you know, 35, 2001, 2002 was kind of the best time in American history. I mean, everything that happened then, good and bad. Like Wikipedia, bad. It happened in 2001. You know, it's like all the good things and the bad things that happened. iTunes, 2002. So in that period, you have so many nostalgic things that are going to come up that you're going to see that I feel like the audience will go back and say, where was I in 2001? Like, what was I doing? Because I went back, you know, I graduated college in 2001. And literally, I was living in New York, and September 11th happened, you know, and it just destroyed the whole idea of my birthday, and, you know, I couldn't get home. There was just so much going on that year, you know? So going back to that, reliving that, you know, pulling out my old CDs, because I still have my CD binder from 2001 when I used to go to Tower Records and buy CDs, you know, or like steal them off of BMG. So
I remember that. You get the 7
you get 7 for a penny. Yes, yes, yes. And I never paid for CDs.
No,
never. Here's your penny. Get out of here. Looking for me. I got every CD off of BMG for a penny. So thank you. I paid about 40 cents and got 1,000 CDs. There was so much going on. I mean, the world was literally changing, evolving before our eyes. You know, that's really when the big jump of cell phones happened. You know, nobody had cell phones before 99, 2000. You know, I remember my little Sprint flip phone that I had to pull the antenna. Like, all that stuff happened 2000, 2001. So it was just such an interesting time, such an amazing time that defines the generation or the culture that we are today. It was a great time. It was a great time for music, for culture, even as a country. It was just a great time, learning, period. And I'm just excited. The more I go back to it, the more I learn and the more I read, the more excited I get for people to see the show.